Argentina is the land of tango, steak, and football fever. We all know Argentina boasts one of the most passionate and skillful football teams in the world. From Maradona's mesmerizing dribbles to Messi's magical goals, La Albiceleste has left us in awe time and time again. But here's the kicker. Have you ever noticed something missing from the squad? Yep, you guessed it. Despite their footballing prowess, Argentina's national team has been notably lacking in black players. And trust me, folks, it's not gone unnoticed. It's not just about the game. It's about representation, diversity, and the broader social dynamics at play. So why is this the case? Buckle up, because we're about to delve into the fascinating backstory behind this puzzling phenomenon. But first, let's look at the demographics and historical context. From the early days of Spanish colonization to the waves of European migration in the 19th and 20th centuries, Argentina's demographic makeup has been shaped by a rich array of cultures and backgrounds. For example, indigenous peoples, European settlers, and African slaves all played a pivotal role in shaping Argentina's history. But as the dust settled, it was primarily European immigrants who left the most lasting imprint on the country's population. Fast forward to today, and you'll find that a whopping 97% of Argentines trace their roots back to European ancestry. However, despite this predominantly European heritage, Argentina's population is more diverse than meets the eye. Indigenous peoples, Afro-Argentines, and communities of Arab and Jewish descent all contribute to the country's rich cultural mosaic. Historically, Afro-Argentines were a significant part of the population, particularly during colonial times when they made up as much as a third of the populace. But over the years, various factors, from state-led blanqueamiento policies to changing migration patterns, have led to a decline in the Afro-Argentine population. Historical racism and discrimination. During the colonial era, the bustling streets of Buenos Aires were marred by the ugly reality of the transatlantic slave trade. As early as the 1600s, Buenos Aires became a hub for importing African slaves, with a staggering 70% of all trading involving these individuals. The city streets, once bustling with black lives, were stained by the cruelty of slavery. By the 19th century, Afro-Argentines made up a significant portion of the population, accounting for one-third of Argentina's inhabitants. Yet, despite their numerical strength, Afro-Argentines faced relentless discrimination and marginalization. Denied basic rights and subjected to systemic oppression, their presence in Argentina's social fabric was systematically erased. But how did Argentina erase its black population from history? Enter the insidious concept of whitening, a pervasive ideology that aimed to erase racial diversity and elevate whiteness as the societal ideal. Through a combination of discriminatory policies and societal pressures, Argentina sought to create a homogenized, whitewashed identity. One of the most subtle yet effective tactics employed by the Argentine government was the call for European immigrants. With open arms, Argentina welcomed waves of European migrants, effectively diluting the black population and perpetuating the myth of a white European nation. By the late 19th century, two-thirds of Argentina's population could trace their roots back to Europe, further marginalizing Afro-Argentines and other non-white communities. But the whitening didn't stop there. Interracial marriages were encouraged as a means of diluting blackness and elevating individuals closer to whiteness on the social ladder. Those with mixed ancestry found themselves navigating a precarious identity, torn between societal expectations and their own heritage. Socioeconomic factors. For centuries, the contributions of people of African descent to Argentine society were systematically forgotten. Despite their integral roles in wars for independence and agricultural labor, their stories were erased from the pages of history. Fast forward to the present day, and we find a stark reality. Socioeconomic inequalities continue to plague Afro-Argentines, limiting their access to resources, education, and opportunities. But it doesn't stop there. Argentina's obsession with a European identity led to a pro-European immigration policy, further marginalizing Afro-descendants. Structural racism entrenches poverty among Afro-Argentines, relegating them to the poorest neighborhoods and overcrowded prisons. The socioeconomic hurdles don't end with housing and employment. Afro-descendants face discrimination in accessing healthcare services, with a reluctance to seek help due to their unregularized status. In Santiago del Estero province, Afro-Argentines endure appalling living conditions, underscoring the systemic neglect they face. Now, let's talk football. Access to training facilities and coaching opportunities is often reserved for the privileged few, leaving aspiring Afro-Argentine footballers at a disadvantage from the get-go. Without proper resources and support, their development and progression in the sport are hindered, perpetuating the cycle of underrepresentation. Cultural influences and football preferences. Football arrived in Argentina in the late 19th century, brought by British immigrants in Buenos Aires. From its humble beginnings, the sport quickly became a national obsession, with football clubs popping up across the country. Today, football is the most popular sport in Argentina, with millions of players and fans. The Argentina national team boasts an impressive record, with multiple FIFA World Cup victories and Copa America titles. Icons like Diego Maradona and Lionel Messi have elevated football to more than just a game. They've turned it into a symbol of national pride and unity. But beneath the surface of Argentina's football success lies a complex cultural landscape that influences player selection and representation. In Argentina, there's a preference for a style of play known as pasture football. This style emphasizes improvisation, individual skill, and physicality, traits that have become synonymous with Argentine football. Players like Maradona and Messi embody this style, dazzling fans with their mesmerizing dribbles and creative playmaking. Another key aspect of Argentina's football culture is aguante, which translates to endurance. It's a belief system that guides the behavior of fans in stadiums, emphasizing courage, endurance, and fearlessness. Fans in Argentina are known for their unwavering support, attending matches rain or shine, and creating an electric atmosphere in the stands. However, despite Argentina's diverse population, there's a noticeable absence of black players on the national team. This can be attributed to cultural biases and preferences that favor certain playing styles and physical attributes. The emphasis on improvisation and individual skill in Argentine football may inadvertently exclude players who don't fit the traditional mold. This, coupled with historical factors and societal norms, creates barriers for black players aspiring to represent Argentina at the highest levels. Systemic racism in football. As fans keep up with Argentina's success in the last World Cup, a familiar question arises: why doesn't Argentina's team have more black players? In stark contrast to other South American countries such as Brazil, Argentina's soccer team pales in comparison in terms of its black representation. But why is this the case? The answer lies in a history of systemic racism within the footballing system, perpetuated by biases in talent identification, scouting, and player selection processes. Firstly, let's address the historical context. Argentina's population was once significantly more diverse, with a substantial black population in the colonial period. However, factors such as wars, disproportionate conscription of black men into military service, and diseases like yellow fever led to a decline in the black population. This significant plunge in the Afro-Argentine population was not accidental but rather by design. The government's focus on European immigration and its promotion of whiteness as a symbol of modernity contributed to the erasure of blackness from the national identity. Secondly, systemic inequalities in access to opportunities played a crucial role. Black Argentines faced barriers to advancement in football, stemming from socioeconomic disparities and discriminatory practices in talent scouting and development. Many talented black players were overlooked or discouraged from pursuing careers in football, perpetuating the underrepresentation of black athletes in the sport. Lastly, the legacy of colonialism and racism continues to influence perceptions of race in Argentina today. Despite being a diverse nation, there persists a narrative of Argentina as a predominantly white country. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Cheers!